These will be some additional observations with the chords on the 3, 4, 5, and 6 string family to sort of round out the system. We're not going to be complete with it. In fact, when we talk about the 4 inversions, these, I just did the G flat from the last video, G flat major, etc. All of these, we're at just the starting point, really. There are a few alterations that we need to make to really begin to expand chord vocabulary. Those are the essentials and the basics, but really the importance of the connecting tones can't be overstated because they will be frozen onto the chords and they will create the new harmonies. In other words, they'll be related to a family of sounds, whether they're major 7 or whatever they are, but essentially they're going to come from adding or replacing tones, mostly replacing for right now. We're not adding anything. These are still 4-note chords. The few things that I would like to point out that are in between the cracks, so to speak, is anywhere there's a major 7th interval or a semitone interval, depending upon, minor 9, whatever it is. Like for instance, this chord, we have a G flat, D flat, F, and a B flat. If we swap out the G flat going down to F and the F going up to G flat, we have this chord, okay, which is still a G flat major 7, but now F is the lowest tone. So it gives us more variation of sound. In this chord, it's not really available because the tones are next to each other, so the point is moot for us, essentially. Here, though, we have that opportunity with this. So we have the G flat and the F, we replace, or I should say exchange. It's really a voice exchange. So G flat becomes F, F becomes G flat. And in this way, you get interesting half-step relations, You can now get semitone relations like that. The same here for this one. So the F and the G flat, we just swap them out and you get this traditional stacked major 7 sound. So you have all of those parts where it's nice. You get an additional melody, and of course, you leave yourself open for the ancillary tones. Okay, so I just adding neighbors that are from that family of sounds. Okay, and that's the other area I want to talk about just right now as an introduction. For instance, when we talk about the first inversion of this major 7, we used the connecting tone inside and we moved it up to this, which became a B flat minor 7. Now, the story's really not over there because we can get another root back. So we get this chord. And a good way to think about it is you don't need, and the fun really starts, or the interest starts, when you move away from just root 3rd, 5th, and 7th. In fact, that's where the interest starts. We need to expand that because essentially that's in broad sense, that's a very limited chord vocabulary. If you're stuck to that, it's very limiting, obviously. And the possibilities on the guitar are endless if we can just move beyond that. And that's why the connecting tones are good to get us on the road to that. We're really just starting. So for instance, there's this. We move that here. We could get, if I use a Lydian scale to get the major 7 tonic sound, I guess, I can get a C, I can get another F on the way to this. And again, the B flat goes to the A here. And this. Now we first encountered that with the connecting tone for the A minor 7 flat 5, or excuse me, the G flat minor 7 flat 5. But here it is as part of this. So we can now take this chord and we move the F to A flat, etc. So what we're really doing now is expanding the system. Same here with the stacked major 7. We move that D flat to C, and we have a very interesting voicing. It sounds really great, like a Lydian augmented 11 voicing on that. Sounds great. All of those have the G flat sound. It's very nice. So that's the first observation. The second will be string transference. Now, and by the way, we'll elaborate more on those chords. That's just for the start. Now, what we're doing now is taking notes that are on the low E string, moving up to the high. So now this chord family becomes, instead of 3, 4, 5, 6, it becomes 1, 3, 4, 5, because we're taking the G flat up. And we do the connecting tones. Forget the connecting tones for just a second, sorry. I'll take the inversion and I'll just move each note up. Here's the next. And we move it up to the top. And same here. Beautiful. Now the connecting tones. I'll do the top. I'll do the Lydian, for instance, so we can just do it this way. That's nice. That works very well there. We'll move it up to E flat. Okay, so that's just a G flat major 7, and that chord set or string set is a little bit more unusual. Now, of course, we do the same thing with each voice, so we can move any of the voices to make that work. So now we can move the middle voice, etc. So here, and I'll use the Lydian mode. So that works like that. By the way, the voice exchange works as well, because if you look at this, we have an F and a G flat, so swap them out. G flat to F. So you have D flat, G flat, B flat, and F, and that can be replaced by A. Beautiful chord. Okay, same here. This is a nice chord with the A flat replacing the B flat, etc. So all the voices can move at the same time. Here's an E flat, added 9 as well. So that's moving the note on the G string. Very nice. Moving this D flat to the C, very dark sound. Okay. And again, do that with the dominant. So we merely lower the 7th. So we get that now, etc. So now we have these dominant 7th chords, which are, obviously nice. They work as well. Same thing, voice exchange. So you can do the same thing with that. You can move the 7th. Going back to this low one, just really quickly, that can work for dominant 7 too. Here's the dominant. So you can do the same thing if it's a minor 7th. It doesn't have to be a major 7. So all your dominant 7s, minor 7, flat 5, etc. So if I run the gamut of those, major 7th, dominant, minor 7th, very pliable, minor flat 5, same thing in the diminished 7. And then doing the same thing for each, major 7, dominant, minor 7, minor flat 5, a little tough to finger, and diminished 7th, major 7, dominant. And by the way, this dominant, obviously moving this up to the 13th, leaves one open for the traditional harmonies. The 13, the flat 9. You can almost look at those traditional harmonies as fill-ins for this sort of an affair, these sort of chords. So there's the dominant, and here's the minor 7. And the minor 7 flat 5 is here. And then, of course, the diminished 7. Okay. Major 7 as well. Dominant, minor. Minor almost looks like a 6-9 chord. Minor flat 5. And the diminished 7. Okay, all with connecting tones. So that would be the next stage. So to wrap this up, we're rounding out the system by using the exchange of the 7ths within a voicing, like this. So wherever there's a 7th, we simply exchange the voices where possible to give us new harmonies. And again, here, really quickly, if we do that on this chord, it's great. G flat to F becomes F and G flat. Very nice major 7 voicing. F, B flat, G flat, D flat. Full of 4ths and 5ths. Very, very big sound. Okay, and again, that can take place for all of the chords. So at this point, the first thing is rounding out the system, filling in the chords by seventh exchange, and then moving tones like this. So finding the in-between voicings that are in between the basic inversions through the connecting tones. B flat minor 7 again, through the G flat. Now new harmonies and extensions of the old ones are happening. We're filling in the gaps. The second part, and I'll elaborate in a future video, is to take the string transference from the low, 3, 4, 5, 6, take it up to the top note, apply the connecting tone principles to those new chords, and the voice exchange of sevenths.